with Vossy and Brandy, SEN 1170 AM in Sydney and on the SEN app. Bryden's Lawyers, we are here for. That's who we sing for. If you need expert legal advice, that's what we do. And you can give us a call on the Great Southern Bank open line 1300 01 1170. Live happily, clever after with Great Southern Bank. Still to come this morning, Corey Jackson, who you loved hearing. He has a great turn of phrase. If you've missed it, he is our American Rugby League expert. He has his own podcast over there, Outside the Sheds. Met him for the first time in Vegas. He absolutely loves the game of rugby league. So we get him on every couple of weeks, and he'll have his take on DCE and the Panthers' demise and all sorts of things. Gerard Whateley also on the show. The Boots and All opener is still to come on the program as well. We'll play that before 7:30. If you remember the old show Boots and All on Channel 9 that I co-hosted with Gus and a small little team, a guy called Dylan Cameron, Jumbo, 6'5". He was the producer I worked with, and he was heart and soul for it. Loved it, did everything. I said, mate, do this, he'd do it. Just go ahead. He'd work into the night editing. We had the greatest fun, but we wrote our own song and we performed our own song.
And you sung it.
And I sung the song.
And your singing voice actually is not bad.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And,
I was surprised how good it was.
We'll talk more about it before 7:30. This man, David Riccio, didn't get a start. He did not get a start in the video. But
he would these days. He would
on the back of his OnlyFans page success, obviously.
Yeah.
So David Riccio, ladies and gentlemen.
Doctor, give me the news. On Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy, the back page with David Riccio. Switch to Sumo to go in the draw to win $1,000 off your annual energy bill.
Goes by the name The Python on his OnlyFans page. It's interesting, David Riccio. Great to have you on the show, David. How you doing?
Going well, boys.
I'll add a bit more serious element to our chat. You've had a discussion with Ivan Cleary, Doctor, and the headline reads, Sounding 5 Alarm. Cleary worries all-conquering Panthers resting on past glories. How did you find your interview with Ivan?
Typically forthcoming in relation to the current state of affairs. Like he was, and this coincided with an opportunity to talk to Ivan about an upcoming chapter of which has been included in his book that was hugely popular last year. There's been a re-release, guys. Not Everything Counts, but Everything Matters. That's Ivan Cleary's book, with the additional chapter of the grand final being included in the second run now, because they couldn't get it in time for the first run. So it's been included. That gave me the opportunity to talk to Ivan, just also about the current state of affairs at Panthers. Worst start to a season since 2016, sitting 13th on the ladder, averaging 29.5 points leaked per game. And I found him really open, honest and forthcoming about where they're at. And what I mean by that, he just intimated that he felt as though there might be, for the first time, some players that are just lingering with reminiscent memories of how they got the job done in the past and relying on that right now. He spoke about the fact that this indeed was a very new challenge for him. And the start of the season reflects that. It's not, so many coaches talk about it's actually easier to start winning games. It's a lot harder to continue to win games. And that's where Ivan Cleary's at right now with this Panthers side, clearly decimated at times through injury. But it was a really compelling interview, and it gives a great insight to where the Panthers are at right now.
David, I've got a follow-up question, but let's hear from Ivan firstly. When asked about the loss of personnel and the impact it is having on the team.
It's too early to say. Yeah, it's a different season, different circumstances. So, we don't know yet.
As a coach, do you love these challenges?
Absolutely, yeah. I like it more when you're winning, but it's part of the deal. Like I said, it's very early in the season. Plenty of seasons where we haven't started the way we want, but we're still working through it and looking forward to improving and getting better as the season goes on.
David Vossy, I remember last year when they hit a flat spot, Penrith. Ivan Cleary was quoted in the media, a deliberate ploy, I reckon, saying, I don't know whether my players are willing to go where they need to go again to win the comp. And it almost had an effect where they rebounded the following weekend and then found some of their best form and went on to win the premiership. When they read all-conquering Panthers resting on past glories, David, I wonder whether this year's Panthers might respond like last year's did when just given a little mental clip by Ivan in the media. What do you reckon?
Well, I agree with you, Matty. Absolutely. I think there's an element of that. And just a subtle but not brutal reminder that, hey, this is this year now. We're in 2025 now, and you're right, Matty. Like that did unfold last year. And look, I got to say, in fairness, there's been some major contributing factors to the Panthers' sluggish start this season, notably missing Nathan Cleary last week, Brian To'o. But what's happening, guys, is they're losing players in games. If you think back to Las Vegas, McLean gets clipped and he's gone for the game early. Then I spoke about Nathan. They've lost in the past Dylan Edwards in games. And when that is happening to key players, and certainly within their spine, but also their bench rotation, it's hard to counter for most teams.
I disagree a little. I think that with the passing of time, and now we are 4 weeks in, by 8 weeks, I think we'll look back at the Roosters game conceding 38 points, because that was abnormal, wasn't it? Like the 38 they conceded.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen previously with any Panthers side. Didn't matter who was out. They're not conceding 38. I think it's real. I think it's real, the slipping of the crown. I really do.
I'm completely with you on the defensive focus. Like that has to be where it all starts for Penrith against the Cowboys on Friday night defensively. Because as I said from the top, they've leaked 29.5 points per game. That is unheard of with Penrith sides. And it has to start there, to the point of which Isaiah Yeo, the champion that he is, he flagged the biggest issue has to be arresting this defensive lapse that's unfolding, and maybe that is maybe it's the first indication, to your point, Vossy, that the crown is falling.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they're not going to be there at the back end, with Edwards, with Cleary, with Yeo, with Martin, Kenny, Leota, if they're all fit. But I say right now, without apology, if Papali'i, if he was the replacement, while it's not exactly the same position as James Fisher-Harris, he is less than James Fisher-Harris. So they haven't, they've lost out there, play it forward for forward. You go into the halves, like what we saw last week. If Cleary was out, Jerome Luai would run the show. Cole, Schneider, Tolau, it's all less than what they had previously. And then you go into the back line, Taruva, while he's not a champion, but he was still a vital component of the premiership side of last year. Like Jenkins is less than Taruva. And at this point, Casey McLean's still got, points to prove, even though he's played test footy. They've got a way to go. So they cannot even be the same as they were. They can't be.
Yeah. Bulldog Pete says, even with Cleary back, I don't see it changing because they're not struggling with attack. They're struggling in defence, and that's even an area where Nathan has struggled to start the season. Do you still have them? I do. I've still got them as a top 4 team. Do you still think they'll finish top 4 and with those players back on board?
If they're fit, yes. But defence is the issue. They're not making top 4.
So they're going to fix their
conceding more
defence
than
then.
20. If they're conceding more than 24 a game, they're not making the top 4. So the defence has to come
There's
first.
Another major factor, fellas. There's another major factor here, fellas, that I don't think we've scratched the surface on, and I hope I'm really keen to see how it all unfolds on Friday night at CommBank Stadium. I don't think you can underestimate that record at Bluebet Stadium over the past 4 years, and how many tight matches the Panthers have been able to conjure at home, at that fortress, of which it was. Now, CommBank Stadium is their new home for the next 2 years, and on Friday night against the Cowboys, I'm just fascinated to see how many Panthers fans turn up.
Yeah.
And if you've got one reason to go, you go for the 250th NRL game for Isaiah Yeo, the champion that he is. But when only 12,500 turn up for the very first Panthers game at CommBank Stadium against the Sydney Roosters, our Sydney team, I'm extremely concerned about what type of crowd we're going to get on a Friday night at 6 o'clock against the Cowboys at CommBank Stadium. And this home away from home factor, I believe, will continue to be a factor for the Panthers when they need those tight wins.
Yeah, very, very good point. Very good point. People will say, Parramatta fans, back in the day, when they had to move out of Cumberland, when they burnt the joint down while they were building Parramatta Stadium, they played out of Belmore and still went on to win the comp. Maybe Penrith need to tap into that. The Payne Haas story, we haven't spoken about it yet, but it appears to me that it's almost done deal, that Payne Haas is switching allegiance from the Australian Kangaroos to Samoa in advance of the next World Cup.
Well, I can tell you Payne Haas is going to hold a media conference at 1:30 today, guys. So let's stay tuned on that, because certainly then we'll get some absolute confirmation from Payne Haas. Look, this has been something that he's been considering for some time and been widely reported as such that, this is an inclination that he wants to respect his family's roots and heritage by representing Samoa. The big debate is, and I'm interested to get your thoughts on it, guys, is should it impact Origin? Now, for me, I don't think it should. And because I say that is of where Payne Haas has grown up. He's grown up as a Blue, represented as a Blue. And I don't think the fact that you want to give back to your family's heritage and represent a passionate part of your heritage should impact State of Origin.
Is that right? He played for the Philippines. He's actually eligible for the Philippines too. Not that they have a team, but I think
Switzerland.
I think there's some heritage there. Can I just make a little comment? Okay, this isn't high horse stuff. But geez, I'd love the day that someone came out and said, "I'm proud to represent Australia and I want to continue to represent Australia." I don't think I've ever heard that. Has anyone ever heard that? Has anyone ever heard that? Or people just go looking for further down their family tree? Someone says, "No, I appreciate my family's history, but I'm a proud Australian-born athlete, and I want to represent Australia."
Yeah.
I don't know whether I've heard anyone say that, ever.
Vossy, I think if you bumped Liam Martin or Isaiah, you wouldn't have a problem getting those words out.
Well, I hope so.
Can't have a chat to Steve Roach.
Yeah.
Tears up when he talks about playing for Australia.
No, okay. Well, I'm probably directing it at everyone who goes back and plays to represent their family further down the tree. They never talk about what they're giving up, which is representing where they were born. They're talking about where they're headed.
And David, Tier 1 doesn't just relate to how that country does at test level. It's all about your pathways, your development structure, etc., etc.
But that'll never change.
There's one element of it.
But that's just sticking to a rule that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Because Samoa will never have a pathways.
No.
So they could win the next 3 World Cups and still be Tier 2. Well, because they will never have pathways in Samoa. They'll never have a comp. It's not going to happen.
That's right.
What do Tonga and Samoans get paid for representing their country as opposed to the Kangaroos?
Bugger all. Probably.
It's nowhere near parity, is it, David?
No, it's not parity. No. I mean, there's been huge efforts to get there, but it hasn't got there at this stage.
So they take a financial hit by electing to represent their family history. I'm just kicking around issues here.
Sure. No, we'll talk
No,
about
absolutely they do.
with a listener. 0457 736 736.
Can I just say, I thought Mark Carroll last night would be really strong. How can you turn your back on the green and gold of Australia? He actually said it's great that he's representing all his family lineage, and it's great for the international game. Tim Manor said the same. It's fantastic that he's making this decision, and it took me by surprise a little bit. I thought they'd be, especially Spud, staunch that once you're a kangaroo, you're always a kangaroo.
Now, David, have we narrowed it down, overs or unders, sin bins? Have you had a bit more thought about it? one day out, one sleep out. What are we talking?
Where are you sitting? Vossy?
I'm sitting above 8. Above 8 sin bins across the weekend.
Yeah, I'm with him.
I'm going. Taking that.
I was going to go. I'm going over 10.5.
Oh, you're going over 10.5. Right. Crackdown crisis, folks. We're going.
And David, just to do full circle, come back to your statement there regarding Penrith using CommBank. I've looked up their record at Bluebet over the last 4 years, their premiership years, working backwards from 2024. 9-3 last year, 10-2 the year before, 10-2 the year before that, 8-0 unbeaten 2021 there. So your point is a good one.
And the crowd average too.
Big crowd.
Just get that. David, you've been fantastic. Do you have any words of wisdom to finish with?
Of course I do, fellas. Thank you, and go well.
Thank you. Nicely delivered. Switch to Sumo Energy for local support and energy. You do need to look up Sumo. Once you get into the deals, you go, wow, better have a think about that. Jared Waitley coming up on the program after 8 o'clock. We've got a bit of AFL, bit of cricket to talk about with Jared. Is there not right there talking about State of Origin to kick off the AFL season? That's what they're talking about. Revamp of the draw, and they would have State of Origin to kick off their season. We got Vegas. They're going to play State of Origin India.
So no soft,
April Fools.
No more soft openings, Andrew.
No, State of Origin to kick off their season. Interesting. That with Jared Waitley coming up a little later on the show.